Good morning, good evening, and good night, everybody. My name is Sarah. Yes, we're back home in this lovely setup without an echo. That's because it's winter break. And because winter break is here, that also means the end of the year is coming up. So I figured now would be as good a time as ever to do my yearly wrap-up. So this year, I did only start putting down my books on Goodreads in late June, early July, so that does kind of screw up my stats. I did end up reading 68 books, plus I still have 4 more books for a readathon that's happening next week. So yeah, it's pretty good for only having, half the year. That being said, about 30 of those were either unrated or manga. I personally do not rate mangas, comics, or poetry. I only read one comic. I didn't finish any poetry this year, so yeah. Well, I think I finished one, but that was... Did I finish that? I don't think I even put that on Goodreads, so I don't know if I finished it or not. So with that all being said, let's dive on in. So like I just said, 60 plus books, 30 of those were unrated / mangas. The unrated would be either because I just didn't feel like I had enough knowledge to give it a rating, or maybe I DNF'd it. I DNF'd one book this year, so that's kind of amazing. But yeah, I don't rate certain types of books, and so we push those off to sidelines and we focus more on the other stuff. So straight away, let's get into our ratings. I read 13 5-star books, 11 4-star books, 5 3-star books, 32 star books, and 2 1-star books. My rating system basically goes like this: 5 stars. Wow, this is amazing. I cannot see any flaws in it. That does not mean there are no flaws in it. It's simply the fact that this book was so well written, I was so engrossed in the world, I didn't want to acknowledge any flaws in this. This would be stuff like Night Vale. I'm sure there are flaws in it. I know the writing style isn't for everybody, but I personally love that book and love that series so much. It kind of has to be a 5-star for me because I couldn't see, or I didn't let myself acknowledge any flaws in that book. A 4-star rating would be, yeah, this is a good book, but it's not perfect. I see the flaws in it, I recognize it. Maybe there's a slow middle. There's something about it that stops it from being that perfect masterpiece for me. But it's still a good book. I still really enjoyed it. A 3-star book would be, it's an average book. It maybe wasn't the best for me, but I can see why other people like it. It's just sort of that, well, maybe I can pass it on. I don't feel bad about giving away 3-star books because I know there's going to be someone out there who likes that style of writing. A 2-star book for me is, I can sort of see why people like it, but at the same time, they have to be like new readers or like someone who's just like not quite as like breaking down the substance of a book as like I do, because again, I was a classical actor for a really long time. I'm used to breaking down and analyzing text. It doesn't, like, a 2-star book won't lend itself to, like, a 3-star. Because a 3-star is like, yeah, it's okay, well, a 2-star is like, I can see why people like this, I don't. And then a 1-star book is, please put it on fire. Maybe not that bad. It takes a lot for me to rate a book 1-star. And so the fact that I have 2 1-star ratings is like, wow, that is not, this is not counting the Everything box, because that, I think, I recorded that video last October, not the one that just passed, so like actually last year. So I didn't read that this year, so that's why it's not included in this rating. If I did though, I know I gave it like an average rating, but the more I think about that book, the more it sticks with me that it was not a good book, so yeah. So I know I said I don't rate mangas and comics and poetry, but I do want to bring up the top 5 of the mangas I read this year. I only read one comic, which was Batman and a Lot of Little Gotham. I really enjoyed that book. It was so amazing. I get it. It's just like, it's such a weird thing for me because I read so much manga, and it's just like, it's always black and white, and you read it backwards. And for me to have a comic, or I guess graphic novel because it was a compilation, to have something that has pictures in it, that's colored, that you read it from left to right. It's so strange. It took a while for my head to get around that format, but it was just, I gush about it so much in my November wrap-up because it was so good. And now for my mangas. The stuff I would give a 5 out of 5 on Goodreads if I rated manga, that would be Bleach Volume 1. I reread this sort of for nostalgia, really. I don't, like, Bleach was it was my childhood. It's essentially a story about a human who ends up becoming a substitute Shinigami. A Shinigami is, it roughly translates to a Grim Reaper or a death god. They're the person who moves the soul from the afterlife. Like, they take a dead person, like, they take their soul, and go whoosh into the afterlife. That's not their only job, though. In Bleach, they also hunt down evil spirits known as hollows. And so, this human kid named Ichigo Kurosaki, he ends up kind of like, he can see ghosts, he can see spirits. And one day, a hollow attacks his house. And the Shinigami in his little town, in the place that's supposed to monitor all that, gets really injured, so he has to take her powers. And the story launches off from there. And it's so amazing. And what that publishing studio did to that author is really horrible. So I wanted to reread where it started, because I wanted to be reminded why this series meant so much to me. So yeah, 5 stars. It was truly lovely. The next series is Yu Yu Hakusho. This is the 90s version of Bleach. This was the stripped down to the bare basic supernatural spiritual story. It's about a kid who ends up dying, but he wasn't supposed to die that day, so the Shinigami in this story is literally just a person who moves the souls from the afterlife. They don't do any fighting. So the Shinigami named Botan is like, hey, you weren't supposed to die. There's not a place for you ready in heaven yet. So we're gonna give you a chance to come back to life. And so he has to go through all these trials, and he does that, and then he ends up coming back to life. And there's a catch, though. He has to work for the Soul King now. He is essentially the spirit detective. He hunts down demons and wayward spirits. And again, I absolutely love this. This was published before Bleach. There's a lot of references in Bleach from Yu Yu Hakusho. I love this series. I read 4 volumes of it this year. I'm planning on buying the 5th. I own season 1 of the anime. I've seen the full thing. I love it. I really love it. The next manga I read was Are You Alice? I read 6 volumes of this, and I'm going to get the 7th sometime around Christmas. Hopefully I'm going to read it then. And I'm just, how do I describe it? Wonderland isn't really the place we think it is anymore. Something happens, Alice disappeared. This kind of follows the story. All the characters are humanized. You still have the White Rabbit, which is a short kid with long rabbit ears. You have the Cheshire Cat, who kind of has the cat motif, but they're all still human. Something happened, though, when Alice disappeared, and the White Rabbit keeps going into our world and taking back people who have lost their way. Young girls with blonde hair who all look like Alice, he takes them into Wonderland and he gives them a name. The White Rabbit is the only person who has ability to give people names and rules of Wonderland. The White Rabbit can only be killed by Alice. Alice can only kill the White Rabbit. The Mad Hatter has the ability to kill anyone who threatens to harm Alice. It's these sort of rules, and the game is, in order to save Wonderland, Alice must kill the White Rabbit. And it's so fascinating because our main character, the person who we follow, they fall into Wonderland themselves. The White Rabbit does not take them there. And they give themselves the name Alice. And so it's called Are You Alice? Because it's about this guy who's walking around Wonderland, who everyone is like, this is Alice. Like, this is the person we're looking for, except the White Rabbit. This is not the person who they brought into Wonderland. And so it's just lovely. It draws a lot from the source material. You see the caucus race, you see a bunch of characters who don't show up in the Disney adaptations. It's just lovely. The next series I read was Blue Exorcist. I read 4 volumes of this, and I love it. This series is about essentially the son of Satan. He grows up in a monastery, he and his older brother, living perfectly nice lives until one day, stuff starts to fall apart. Essentially, demons figure out who Rin, our main character, is. They figure out his lineage. They start hunting him down. And then stuff is revealed, the fact that the monastery he lives in is actually a home for exorcists. And so once Rin realizes that, he's sent off to go live in True Cross Academy to not only finish high school, but also to become an exorcist and to kill his father, which, is great. I finished the anime. I know the manga has a different ending. I'm going to finish that. And the last manga series, I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. I finished this one, actually, and it's called Claylord. It only has 3 volumes. I absolutely love it, and it's just like, it's essentially, it lives in this fantasy world where people can create golems. Golems are, it's the traditional, like, Jewish mythology. It's a creature made out of clay. Clay, our main character, is the last remaining heir to this super powerful crafting family. They can make anything. The secret to their recipe is their blood, which is just amazing. And so the main character, there's some sort of tragic backstory. Both of his brothers were killed. He has amnesia. He has this nasty scar on his head. And so the golems that his family created have to go find clay. And they are the only humanoid golems in existence. And it's so lovely, and the characters are so great, and yeah, I like it. So, I've gushed about my 5 top manga series of the year, and now it is the top 5 books. Now, again, all of these I rated 5 stars, but yeah, let's get into this. First off, we have Mistborn. I've only read The Final Empire. Absolutely loved it. Took me only 3 days, which was intense. You all know about Brandon Sanderson. He has talked about so much on BookTube. So it's his world building. It's his magic systems. Mistborn is the one where they ingest metals and they can have certain abilities based off certain metals, and it's so lovely. And there is something that happens like halfway through the book that they cannot talk about it, but it made the book for me, and it's I really love it. Essentially, it's just like they're trying to take down an evil empire. Yeah, it's great. Next book I have is Dear Mrs. Bird. People said I wouldn't like it, but I picked it up anyways, and I loved it. And it's set in World War II, and it follows the story of a civilian who's just living her life in Britain. She wants to become a war correspondent, a journalist sent off to the battlefield. But she takes the wrong job by mistake. She actually ends up working for a women's magazine where people send in their problems about just the life they're living right now. And Mrs. Bird, our main character's boss, she has a very strict set of rules that you cannot publish these questions. If it's talking about relationships or the war or, very, stupid things. And so it gets to the point where our main character, it gets to the point where our main character, Mrs. Lake, is she has to respond to these people. So she starts sending them letters personally, and stuff kind of escalates from there. It's really good though. Now, none of these books are in any order. I couldn't place any of these in order, but next book is Night Vale. I love Night Vale. I talk about it so much, and I'm just it's a story of a town that just anything can happen. That's the only way I can describe it. 5-headed dragons run for mayor. The It Devours has the story of a giant worm centipede eating houses. It's so weird and wonderful. If you want an urban horror fantasy, this is the book for you. It's also a podcast, so amazing. And sorry, it's really dusty in here, so I keep touching my nose so I don't sneeze, but apologies. The next book I have to talk about is Carry On. Now, Carry On. I only read it this year, which was kind of, a shame it took me so long to get to. But it's just look at it. It's Harry Potter, but gay. And then I'm just yeah. And the multiple points of views, it's so hilarious. Just so Simon, I'm right here just talking. Then it switches over to Baz's perspective. It's I love him. And then it goes back to Simon and talking to, it's so good. I really love it, okay? It's Harry Potter, but gay is the best way to describe it. I'm not even gonna give you a proper synopsis. And the final book I have to talk about, or series, I guess, is the Magnus Chase series. I'm currently reading book 3 at the moment. I'm loving it. But the book 1 and book 2 are definitely, they're up there. They're so... I think I like book 2 better, actually, because it's just one of the main focus of that story. Book 2 really focuses on the side characters. So we have, the Valkyrie, who's also Muslim, and you see her job, and she's in an arranged marriage, and they're so cute together. And then the other character we focus on is a mute elf, and it's so good. It's legitimately amazing. So yes. It's just, Magnus Chase is similar to Percy Jackson in the fact that it's hey, you're a demigod, but the thing is, Magnus Chase, our main character, he only finds that out after he dies, and he gets sent to Valhalla, and he gets trained, and it's stuff goes down. stuff goes down. And it's good. It's really good. But essentially, it's like the whole plot of the series is the fact they're trying to stop Ragnarok from happening, because, you know, that would be bad. Now, I only read 2 classics this year, and that would be all of the Alice's Adventure in Wonderland. This is including Underground and Into the Looking Glass. I love them all, and I also read The Great Expectations. Great Expectations is okay. I really enjoy the Alice, though. I've been kind of been obsessing over Alice recently. So, yeah, you're gonna see that soon in the upcoming video, but yeah. The last 2 books I want to talk about are the books that really stood out for diversity for me. I know everything else was these are my 5-star books, these are the classics, but this is the 2 books that really shown the diversity. And yes, while I could bring up Magnus Chase here again, I really want to Let's Talk About Love and Welcome to Night Vale. Night Vale is very strange in the fact that very few characters given actual physical descriptions. We know most of them are not white. I've talked about this before. In book 2, our main character is born and raised in India. It's so lovely, and I really do enjoy it. But the other one is Let's Talk About Love. Now, this book is what sparked the idea for the most popular video on my channel at the moment, and that is Ace Pride in Books. Let's Talk About Love follows a Black, asexual, biromantic character, and it has its flaws, but it's so good. It's just the fact that it exists. It's it makes the book for me. So yeah, I'm just it's great, it's lovely, and I'm just it's good, yeah. So yeah, that is essentially my wrap up. That is my yearly wrap up. And I've read a lot. I've read a lot of sci-fi, I've read a lot of fantasy, and I'm happy with the way this turned out. Next year, I'm definitely going to be reading more books. I only started recording in July, and I've read almost 70 books so far, and I still have a readathon to get through, so we're going to see where that happens. But until next time, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you liked any of the books I talked about, please leave them down in the comment section down below. And while there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And as always, good night, good evening, and good morning, everybody.